Okay, we're still continuing with our state competency practice exam. We had to take a break there because of our filming. Our video only goes for a certain length of time. So I've already done my first 3 skills, which was my hand washing, counting respirations, and my range of motion. So now I'm on skill 4, so this is a continuation. So now we are going to do ambulate with the gait belt. I would grab my gait belt and have it sitting right here where it's easily accessible. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to knock. Carol, it's me, Kelly, again. Would you like to get up and walk?
That sounds good, thank you.
Okay. I am going to, I've already washed my hands because I did that at the end of my last skill. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the bed is down low. I want to make sure I'm going to raise the head of her bed up so it's easier for me to get her up. And you'll notice on a lot of these newer beds that when you sit the head of the bed up, the feet notch up. You want to make sure the feet are down so when she's sitting at the edge of the bed, she's not on a hump. The other thing I want to do is I want to make sure the bed itself is locked. And there's a variety of ways I can do that. There are locks that I can actually visually see that it's locked, or I can even just go like this and say the bed's locked. But you want to make sure your bed's locked before you get your patient up. I'm going to pull my privacy curtain. Even though my patient is dressed and I shouldn't be overly exposing them if I'm going to be getting them up walking. Sometimes we're not always as graceful as we'd like to be when we get up out of bed, so it's just nice to go ahead and pull our privacy curtain. And I believe I'm set. So I am going to uncover her, and I need to assist her in getting up. Now there's a variety of ways I can do that. You can ask her, I can say, okay, I'm gonna bring your legs over, and can you start, we'll bring your legs over, and then we can go ahead and sit her up at the edge of the bed. Now, I could have put her, I can actually put a towel down and put her shoes on while she's in bed. I can have her hang her feet out and kind of try to put her shoes on that way. Or I can, once I have her kind of sitting, dangling here on the edge of the bed, I can put her shoes on here. So, but before I get her up, I want to make sure that her shoes are on. So, and generally what you're going to find at state competency is once you bring their shoes over and you start putting their shoes on, the evaluator usually just tells the person, oh, just go and finish slipping your shoes on. But be prepared to put them on if needed. Now, I do not need gloves for this skill unless it was a isolation patient. So you'll notice in your book, when you look at your skills of state competency for ambulate with the gait belt, it says before assisting to stand, bed is locked. Before assisting to stand, non-skid socks are on. Before assisting to stand, gait belt's on. Before assisting to stand. They don't care which order you do those in, as long as you have them done before you assist her to up. So now I'm going to put my gait belt. Now when we put the gait belt on, you want to make sure you go through the teeth side first. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this around her. And we don't use gait belts on people that have had abdominal surgery, or if they have a colostomy bag, you'd always want to check in with the nurse before you put this on. So I come through the teeth first, and I'm going to make sure that this is nice and snug up against her. And if I have excess belt, I'm going to go ahead and just tuck this through. Now before I get her up, I'm going to go ahead and get this out of my way. I should have probably done that even before. Now I want to make sure her feet are flat on the floor, and I like to have the gait belt on the person before I bring them closer to put their feet flat on the floor. Just in case they scoot too much, I can kind of control things a little bit. So I'm going to have her just scoot forward and make sure her feet are nice and flat on the floor, which they are. And now what I want to do is I can go knee to knee or toe to toe. And you may need to come around for this one. I can actually put my knees up against hers and my toes up against hers, so I'm kind of knee, knee, toe, toe, which is a little awkward for me, but it can be done this way. Or I can put it where I'm just kind of toe here, like I'm next to her toe to toe, like right here. I'm touching her toe with this toe and my toe with this toe. That's acceptable as well. So this is generally what I'm going to prefer to do. I have to tell them how I want them to come up. So on the count of 3, I'm going to tell her I want her to push up. I never let a patient grab me around the neck when I'm trying to lift them up. I don't want them to, if they start to fall, it's instinctive to grab the neck. So I'm going to come under the gait belt, and on the count of 3, we're going to come up. 1, 2, 3. Okay, do you feel okay?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dizzy or lightheaded?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, so now we're going to walk, and your evaluator will just say, walk to that table and back. So we're going to walk, and I'm just kind of beside her and slightly behind her. And let's go ahead and turn around. here to the bed. Okay. All right. And you feel your legs up against that?
Yes,
You can
I
go ahead and
do.
sit down now.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to take the gait belt off. I'm going to go ahead and slip her shoes off. And we'll help her back to bed here.
Thank you.
I'm going to cover her up. Would you like your head down or?
No, I think this is fine. Thank you.
Okay. So when it says the bed must be down low, it doesn't mean the head of the bed has to be flat. It just means if I raise the whole bed up, I need to put it back down. So I can leave the head of her bed up. I'll make sure she can reach her call light
Thank you.
and that she's comfortable. And then I would tell my evaluator I would wash my hands. So we washed our hands that first skill of the day, but after that we're just verbalizing it because there's usually only 1 or 2 sinks in the labs where you're testing, and it would backlog if every student was having to go over and wash their hands. So now I'm going to do my last skill. And it says provides perineal care or peri-care for a female. So I'm going to get my supplies. So I am going to get my bath blanket, a towel to drape my work surface, a towel to dry the peri area. I'm going to get 4 washcloths, my bath basin, and they have the pink square ones, or sometimes they have these blue round ones. And I need a waterproof pad to be underneath the person when I do peri-care, and this here is my bottle of soap. So I'm going to get my supplies, and I'm going to come, and this is a skill you will do on a mannequin. So there are 2 skills that you will do on a mannequin for state competency: the anti-embolic stocking and the peri-care for a female. The rest of the time you will have a patient in bed. So I'm going to carry my supplies over, and I want to make sure I'm not bringing them up against my uniform. And I'll go ahead and get set up here next to this mannequin. So I use 1 towel to drape my work surface. Now, if you accidentally drop a supply, you're just going to go get another one, okay? All right, and the other thing I need is, actually I do not need, I was going to say a clean gown, but I actually don't need to do that for peri-care. So for this skill, I would knock. Carol, are you ready to get cleaned up? And I'm going to let her know I'm going to go get my supplies that I need. So I would go grab my supplies, and I'm going to go get my water before I set the bed up and get my patient situated. So when I go get water, I'm going to get some nice warm water, and I'm going to check it and make sure it's not too hot. And then I'm going to bring it back and ask my patient to check it. Can you check the water and make sure this is okay? And they say yes. I'm going to be getting a pair of gloves. And you guys, any skill that you're doing for state competency that requires water, you should be having gloves on. So you want to make sure that you've got your gloves. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set my patient up. I'm going to raise the bed up to a good working height for me. I'm going to take my bath blanket, and there's different ways you can do bath blankets. A traditional way is to use a diamond style for the bath blanket. Another way you can do this is you can cover them up with the bath blanket and then pull this part down to cover the lower extremities. What state competency says is you have to provide warmth and privacy. They don't really care which way you do that, so long as you're providing warmth and privacy. I want to get my waterproof pad underneath the person. Now I'm going to be using a mannequin, and sometimes they have half-bodied mannequins, sometimes they use the full body. But when you do this, normally you have a person that would just be able to slide this under. So I would actually, before I even try to slide that under, let's put our gloves on. I have to have my gloves on before I start washing the perineal area, but even sliding this waterproof pad under, I'd like to have them on, since they are probably needing to be cleaned. Okay. So I'm going to have them open their legs. Okay. Cover them up here. All right, so my 4 washcloths, I like to go ahead and just stick right into the basin. Okay, but again, the one thing I do need to always make sure I'm doing before I start cleaning anybody would be pull my privacy curtain, right? Which I almost forgot, but again, if you forget, you caught yourself, you're just gonna tell me to go ahead and pull your privacy curtain. So I'm gonna put my 4 washcloths in here, because nothing's gonna dip back into this water. So it's not like when you give a regular bath and you're giving a full bath and you're rinsing your washcloths off. I don't rinse anything off in this water, so I can put all 4 washcloths in there, and I have a clean towel for drying and my soap. Now when you do this, they do not care if you do a 4-corner technique or a mitt technique, but I'm going to take my soap and I'm going to put soap on all 4 corners here. I'm going to use the 4-corner technique. I am going to go ahead and spread open the labia, and I'm going to clean from the inside out first. So I'm coming from top to bottom on the inside of the labia, and then I'm going to pull this corner back, and I'm going to go top to bottom again on the inside of on the other side of the labia. Now I'm going to fold the labia back together, and now I'm going to clean the outside from top to bottom, and then my last stroke from top to bottom. And now this is going to go on my dirty side. So when you set up, have a clean side and a dirty side. Now I'm going to take my next washcloth, and now there's no soap on this, and I'm going to go back and do exactly the same technique and rinse this off. Spread the labia open. I'm going to go from top to bottom on one side, top to bottom on the other side. Fold the labia, top to bottom, and top to bottom. Now this will go on the dirty side. Now I need to pat dry here. So I'm going to take my towel, and I'm just going to take corner of this. I just start with one side, and I'm gonna, now you can actually use 2 towels to dry, one to dry the front, one to dry the back, or you could go ahead and just start and just, you pat dry the front, I roll it, I pat dry, I roll it, and I pat dry. And now what I do is I put this is the side that's bunched up is the side I use, and this is the side that's still clean. I'm gonna use this part for when I dry the bottom off. So now I'm gonna go ahead and roll my resin over. Now if you have a big heavy mannequin like this, you're going to need to come around with the film. If you have a big heavy mannequin like this, they will help you hold it over if needed. Okay. So now we're going to wash the bottom, and I'm still going to try to provide warmth and privacy here as best as I can here. And now I've got 2 washcloths left, so I'm going to put soap on all 4 corners of this side. And now I'm going to go ahead and I left off cleaning right there. I'm going to start from right there, and I'm going to come up. I usually come up the crack twice, and then my next one I'm just going to come up here and here. And then that's going to go to my dirty side. And then I'm going to have 1 washcloth left to rinse. I go over that motion again to make sure I'm rinsed all the soap off. Now my towel here, half of it's still good, so I'm going to just go ahead and dry my bottom off. And then I'll go to my dirty side now. I'm going to go ahead, if I can, and just roll out my waterproof pad. And I'll take care of that in a sec. And I'm going to roll them back over. Now I don't have to do a clean gown for this skill. So I'm going to go ahead and take out this bath blanket that I used for the warmth and the privacy. Now, this is always a tricky part, and for state competency, it doesn't matter that I go ahead and put the bed down in low position. But there's always a lot of concern. Should I lower the bed? Should I put all my stuff away first because of an infection control issue? If you feel that you've gotten really soiled, you can go ahead and take off your gloves, hand sanitize, put new gloves on, and then take care of all your supplies, or before you touch this bed. But I don't want to deal with all of this and leave a person in an up position like this. So I'm going to go ahead and lower the bed. And the way I look at this is if I'm concerned that I contaminated the side of this rail, I'm going to get a sanding wipe when I'm done and I'll just wipe the rails off. But now I can go ahead and I have my gloves on, and they're fine if you do it this way for state compensated. Go ahead and lower that bed. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell my evaluator, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take it to the bathroom and I'm going to dump it in the toilet. I'm going to rinse it, dump it, and I'm going to dry it, and I'm going to put it back in its designated area. And they will usually have signs on the table that just say designated dirty area. So I will set that there. My soap I will put away in their drawer, or I will just put it back. They'll just have you put it back where you got it. My waterproof pad, I'm going to go ahead and throw that in the garbage can. And my soiled linen, they will have a pop-up soiled linen hamper, and you will just dump this all into the soiled linen hamper. Now you're going to turn to your evaluator. Any skill that requires gloving, you're going to turn to your evaluator. They need to see you take off your gloves to get credit for doing it correctly. So you're going to pinch the first one, and I'm going to peel this off all the way into my hand. Second one's going to come underneath it. I'll throw these in the garbage, and I would tell my evaluator I would wash my hands. Now I'm still not done with this skill. I'm going to need to go ahead and come back and make sure that he is or she is comfortable, that the call light is in reach. Since we're using this for the call light, make sure the call light's in reach. The bed I already put in low because I was afraid to walk away from her in a high position. I'll see if she's comfortable like that, that she can reach her stuff. I'm going to pull the privacy curtain back, and I would tell my evaluator I'm done with that skill.